Hello and thanks for joining us. Today we take a look at Malaysia's foreign relations and strategic positioning. Geostrategist AZMI HASSAN chimes in on this. We'll also be covering the day's major global headlines with a focus on the ongoing situation in Gaza. I'm Jessie Chahal. This is The World on Bernama TV. We begin the world with this. Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry says he will resign after the creation of a transnational presidential council. In an earlier meeting by the leaders of the Caribbean bloc, the Guyanese President Irfan Ali said the CARICOM acknowledged the resignation of the Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry. Here's Irfan Ali.
We are pleased to announce the commitment to a transitional governance arrangement which paves the way for a peaceful transition of power, continuity of governance, an action plan for near-term security, and the road to free and fair elections. It further seeks to assure that Haiti will be governed by the rule of law. This commitment reflects hard compromises among a diverse coalition of actors who have put their country above all differences. To that end, we acknowledge the resignation of Prime Minister Ariel Henry upon the establishment of a transitional presidential council and the naming of an interim Prime Minister.
Henry, who has faced calls to resign or agree to a transitional council, has been locked out of his own country while travelling abroad due to surging unrest and violence by criminal gangs who have pretty much overrun Haiti's capital and closed down its main international airports.
Has planned for a Hands Off Haiti event.
Over the weekend, amid Haiti's political turmoil, protesters in the capital ignited tires and wielded signs expressing distrust of international involvement. Streets near the Canadian embassy are currently blocked by blazing tires. Prime Minister Ariel Henry's pending resignation has sparked power struggles among political factions and influential gangs who are controlling significant portions of Port-au-Prince. They demand a say in Haiti's future. And still with Gaza, WHO's mission to Gaza's Al-Ahli Arab and Al-Sahaba hospitals reveals dire shortages in supplies and in staff. Delivering crucial aid, including orthopedic items and fuel, underscores the urgent need for international support. Hospital directors stress the critical shortage of medications and have called for sustained assistance. Amid a humanitarian crisis, millions displaced in Gaza face hunger amidst limited access to essential supplies. In Washington, the White House aims for a Gaza ceasefire despite missing the Ramadan deadline. The National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan has emphasized Biden's commitment to lasting peace. Israel, in the meantime, confirmed the death of American-Israel soldier Itay Chen in a Hamas attack, devastating both President Biden and Sullivan. Still in Washington, the White House announced a Pentagon plan to expedite $300 million in arms to Ukraine, utilizing cost savings from contracts. Despite the military's significant deficit, requiring $10 billion to replenish weaponry drawn from Kyiv's defense against Russia, the National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan asserts the urgency. This marks the Pentagon's first security package for Ukraine since December. Meanwhile, in New York, European Union's top diplomat Josep Borrell addressed the UN Security Council, correlating aid to both Ukraine and Gaza. Borrell emphasized the humanitarian crises in both regions, stressing equal condemnation for their suffering. Borrell's remarks underscore the need for concerted international action to address humanitarian challenges in Ukraine and Gaza.
Humanitarian assistance needs to get into Gaza, and the European Union is working as much as we can in order to make it possible. But this is a humanitarian crisis which is not a natural disaster. It's not a flood. It's not a earthquake. It's a man-made. And when we look for alternative ways of providing support by sea or by air, we have to remind that we have to do it because the natural way of providing support through roads is being closed, artificially closed. And starvation is being used as a war arm. And when we condemn this happening in Ukraine, we have to use the same words for what's happening in Gaza.
Ukraine and the ECW, the Education Cannot Wait, have unveiled an $18 million grant for a multi-year resilience program that benefits 150,000 children in 10 affected areas. ECW aims to raise $35 million with the grant targeting mental health services and school reconstruction in conflict zones. The previous ECW investments, totaling to $6.5 million, supported over 360,000 children with a focus on girls and education.
Have access to mental health and psychosocial services.
And in Lebanon, medics and paramedics in Beirut protested against Israel's alleged targeting of medical workers in southern Lebanon. Rallying outside the United Nations headquarters, they highlighted the dangers faced by paramedics in conflict zones. The demonstration came after an Israeli strike or airstrike killed 3 Hezbollah paramedics. Demonstrators emphasized that the violation of international laws protecting medical teams during conflicts. And now we'll take a short breather. When we come back, we'll take a look at Malaysia's foreign relations and strategic positioning. AZMI HASSAN, geostrategist from Nusantara Academy, joins me for that conversation after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim's recent visit to Australia and the current one in Germany is to foster stronger ties between the two countries and partners within the region. In our Point of View segment today, we explore pivotal questions surrounding diplomatic engagements, economic partnerships and the future trajectory of bilateral relations. Joining me via Zoom right now from the Federal Capital is AZMI HASSAN, a geostrategist with the Nusantara Academy. AZMI, thanks for making time to do this. I'd like to start with this. When we take a look at PMX's recent statements regarding Malaysia's foreign relations, particularly with China, we also look at his stance on Malaysia's strategic positioning amidst regional dynamics. How does the Prime Minister perceive Malaysia's relationship, let's start with China, given China's investments to date in the country?
Yes, true enough, Jesse. I think we have problem, no doubt about with China, especially the South China Sea. But again, Dr. Sri Anwar's statement in Australia, especially regarding China, let China rise, do not sanction China, maybe raise a few eyebrows in this case. But again, Malaysia has been taking a stand, as we mentioned. We have a good relationship with China, not only in economic terms, but also in geopolitical terms. What we are saying to the world, not only to Australia, but to the world, is that regarding China and also another superpowers, United States, we are friends, but we don't take sides. For example, the Philippines and the Vietnamese, they took sides more towards, leaning towards United States, but not Malaysia. Dr. Anwar is saying that we are going to be cooperating both with China and also with United States in this case. So the stance by Datuk Seri Anwar is no different from our previous Prime Minister, because this is our foreign policy regarding China and also regarding United States, Jesse.
Just there with the United States and China, what is the Prime Minister's approach to maintain friendly ties at both ends while still trying to uphold Malaysia's position in terms of independence within that dynamics?
We don't take sides, Jesse. That's one thing for sure. Regarding China, as I mentioned, the South China Sea, even though China, I think, encroached in our EEZ a number of times, but we resolved this particular issue diplomatically. That's with China. And also with the United States, for example, we have differences in opinion, especially what's happening in Gaza, especially. But again, I think during APEC meeting last November, Datuk Seri Anwar did say it outright in front of President Biden, and also in front of I can't remember his name during the APEC meeting. But again, I think we remain independent, not on the behest of the United States or China in this case. I think we can be a model how to deal with superpowers, especially what's happening in South China Sea, Jesse.
Azmi, as we move down under, as they say, to Australia, there have been many recent bilateral agreements between Malaysia and Australia across various sectors. What would you say is the significance of these agreements?
One thing for sure regarding our relationship, people to people, we have no problem. But again, sometimes government to government relationship with Australia, maybe there is an up and also down. But again, with Datuk Seri Anwar, during his visit to Australia last few days, I think he did assert that relationship between Kuala Lumpur and Canberra, I think is getting better or at the best of all time. So I guess the recent agreement, especially on economic matters, I think it spells we'll be doing more trade with Canberra, vice versa. So in this case, it spells good because Malaysia and also Australia are part of RCEP, one of the biggest free trade agreements. So in this case, it's good for the economy and also it's good for the people-to-people relationship, because the flow of tourists from both nations are very, very, I would say, very dynamic, Jesse.
Azmi, I digress a little at this point. Malaysia and Germany, or rather we have differing historical and geopolitical perspectives, as you're well aware. How does this sort of play out on issues like the Gaza conflict in terms of demonstrating abilities to overcome differences, all for the greater good?
Yeah, Jesse, no doubt. But regarding Gaza, I think Kuala Lumpur and also Berlin or Germany in this case have a very huge difference in this case, especially on the ceasefire. But for the last 24 hours, Datuk Seri Anwar and Chancellor Scholz has agreed that a permanent ceasefire is the way to go. And this is, I think, something very new coming from the Germany side regarding the permanent ceasefire. And Datuk Seri Anwar said also all hostages must be released in order to attain the permanent ceasefire. So again, what demonstrates the meeting between Scholz and also Datuk Seri Anwar is that even though regarding the Gaza issue, the differences are so wide, but there must be some, I would say, give and take here. So in this case, both, I think Berlin and Colombo did agree the permanent ceasefire is the only way to go to resolve the issue, what's happening in Gaza, Jesse.
Let's talk about the potential investments worth 45.4 billion ringgit that Malaysia has received from Germany during the Prime Minister's recent visit. Tell us about this potential and tell us how significant this is for the bilateral relationships and agreements and further sort of sense of future and progress between both countries.
Yeah, Jesse, even though it is a potential, not a firm, I would say, commitment by the German investors. But again, I think the total of 45 billion, I think the 5 billion is part of the investment, the ongoing project. Another 40 billion, I think this is where the interesting part coming through. The other 40 billion is the future project. And we know that Germany is good in aerospace, semiconductor, or I would say that in terms of scientific and engineering development, we are looking from Germany something to do with high quality investment in aerospace, in semiconductor, because Germany has a very matured, I would say, technology in this case. So we are, I think, 40 billion, even though it's still a potential investment, Jesse. But again, this is something that we should look forward to reap the benefit of high technology, not only from China, but also from Germany. So I think it is good news for us. For 45 billion, I think is a huge amount of investment coming from Germany. Jesse?
Azmi, what can you tell us about some of the potential challenges or concerns that was raised when the Prime Minister was in Germany during the many discussions, particularly regarding investment opportunities or even the stability of Malaysia? What do you know about that?
Yeah, Jesse, when face-to-face meeting between Scholz and also Datuk Seri Anwar, I have no worry because Datuk Seri Anwar, we know that he's very articulate in his justification, in his argument. So in terms of political stability, I wouldn't see any problem or any issue. There won't be any hesitant. If there is an hesitant about political stability, for example, then 45 billion, I think, won't be there, even though this is just a potential investment. But again, I think political stability, I think this is the least worries that should occur from the foreign investors, and this include from Germany, regarding the process of investment, how fast the investment will be, I would say, will be agreed upon by on our side. I think MIDA, for example, MITI, for example, YB Zafrul already gave an assurance that the process will be very smooth. It won't take a long time when there is a proposal for any investment from Germany, for example. So in this case, Jesse, I guess it is something that Datuk Seri Anwar is very articulate. And I think I'm confident on him that he can explain it, the real reason for the political stability, especially. Jesse.
Good to hear from you, Azmi. Thank you for sharing your perspective. We'll speak again. That was Azmi HASSAN, geostrategist at Nusantara Academy. It's time for a quick break. We'll be back with more global updates happening right here on The World. Stick around for the full scoop. Welcome back. TikTok influencers converged in Washington to sway Congress against a bill endangering the app's Beijing-based parent company. The advocacy event arranged by TikTok precedes a critical House vote. The bill, unanimously endorsed by a House panel last week, demands the company's sale or U.S. ban. Amidst the U.S.-China tensions, the bill underscores strategic rivalry impacting technology and data security.
Now, China has laws on the books that compel Chinese companies and organizations to cooperate with any kind of intelligence, national intelligence work that the country might want to do. So lawmakers have expressed concerns that the data of Americans that is on the app, 170 million Americans that use TikTok, could potentially be forced over to the Chinese government. But there hasn't been any specific incidents that the U.S. government has provided of data sharing occurring between TikTok and the Chinese government. President Trump had signed an executive order to ban TikTok back in 2020. That got blocked by the federal courts after TikTok sued. The Biden administration, when they came in, they revoked that executive order. but they led a review inside the administration of TikTok Continue, a foreign investments review, and then there's been some bills introduced in the Senate to try to give the president powers to ban TikTok without naming the company specifically, but that has been stalled in the Senate for quite some time now.
And Muslims in Jakarta convened at the Istiqlal Grand Mosque for the Ramadan's first day on Tuesday, with thousands attending from Jakarta and nearby areas. The mosque, in collaboration with the Saudi Arabian Embassy, Jakarta Regional Government and private companies, distributed 4,000 food packages. Worshipper there, Muhammad Basyar, expressed his delight in breaking fast at the Istiqlal Mosque for the first time. Women and children sharing in the joy gathered in separate halls to enjoy the same food. And with that, we bring the crossing of borders and time zones to a close for now. Until next time, I'm Jessie Chahel. This has been The World on Bernama TV. Thanks for watching.